That's hot. Wow. Okay, it's been a while. It has been a while. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. That's really good. Oh my gosh. That's really good. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to episode number 70 of Driftless Knitting. Yes, it is episode 70. I cannot believe it. I am so happy to be joining you today. It has been such a long time. I think it's been almost a month since I podcasted, and I just feel so good about chatting with you today and showing you all of my lovely fiber related goodies that I have amassed over the last month. It is Monday, excuse me, Monday, October 20, what's the date? Oh, our thing doesn't have it. Shoot. Let me go look at the calendar because I am unprepared. So apparently it is October 22nd today. It is about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm coming to you as always from Cross Plains, Wisconsin, which is just west of Madison. It is a beautiful fall day today. It's actually much warmer today than it has been the last week pretty much. I think it's supposed to be about 60 degrees today at the high, and right now it is about 56 degrees Fahrenheit. So I feel a little overdressed right now. I have, my comfy sweater on and a long sleeve t-shirt underneath, and then I have one of my beautiful shawls on that I will talk about in just a second. And it's kind of warm in here. It's about 70 degrees almost here in our apartment. I have the sliding door over to the side of me open a crack so that I can get a little bit of fresh air in, but yeah, I'm feeling a little bit warm. And then I also have a hot cup of tea that I just brewed, and that's kind of warming me up as well. So yeah, so let me talk about kind of what I have here. I am so excited that the weather is cool. Last week we were consistently in the 30s and 40s, which is quite cold for October. Usually it's a mid 50s like it is today. So we kind of got thrown right into winter for a little while. We actually did have snow on Saturday as well, so it's long gone. It didn't stay around, even that day, but large flakes were falling here in Wisconsin, and yeah, it was the first snow of the year, or of the season, I should say. And because of that, I have been getting back into drinking tea. I don't drink tea in the summer because for me, tea is kind of a cozy, warm, cold winter type of beverage, even though I drink coffee during the summer, and that's also hot. But coffee is essential for life, so yeah. I usually drink like herbal teas, which is why it's not as much of a necessity for me, caffeine-wise. And I usually brew one in the evening or at night before bed to have kind of a nice drink, a relaxing drink before I go to sleep. This is, oh guys, it smells so good. And it tastes delicious. This is, let me put my cup down. Oh, I'm drinking out of my Crossroads Coffee House mug, which is the local coffee house here in Cross Plains. I'm just gonna put that there on my little table. And this is actually a sample tea. I got this little packet of tea from Plum Deluxe, and my light is kind of making it glow a little bit, but I am one of the people in charge of yarn clubs at Knit Circus, which is where I work, and we are doing a yarn club. It's not open for registration anymore. It closed last month, and we are in the process of getting everything dyed and ready to start shipping out the 1st of November. So it's a tea club, a tea and yarn club. So you get a skein of yarn that's, you know, dyed in an exclusive colorway, and then you get tea to go with it. So I've been ordering teas for that. It's been really fun to order from different tea companies. And one of the tea companies that I ordered from for this club, and then actually for something else, I placed a really big order for work. They have been sending me in the boxes, they've been sending me these little samples, and just like a whole handful of them. So I've taken a few home, and this is one of them. This is Evening in the Garden, and it's an herbal tea, which, like I said, is my favorite. And this one, it says on the little thing, I don't know if you could read it on the screen, but it said, "Find yourself in a delightfully calming, quiet moment inside your teacup." That just gives me all the warm, fuzzy feelings. It says that the ingredients are all organic. There is honeybush tea, elderflower, rose, lemon, and vanilla essence. No caffeine. So it's about 1 teaspoon, a little over 1 teaspoon of tea comes in each one, which is about as much as you need for a cup of tea. And this is the second sample that I've used from Plum Deluxe, and I've loved both of them. The first one I got 2 cups out of, and I saved the tea because you can re-steep it. It's, you know, you don't kind of use it all up in 1 cup of tea. So I kept it, and maybe I'll brew myself another cup later on tonight. But the first one was called A Walk in the Garden, or A Walk in the Meadow. Yeah, A Walk in the Meadow, and it was kind of all, again, an herbal tea, and it was all these like floral scents, and it was just so good. So I am really tempted to place an order and get some teas. I'm actually becoming more of a fan right now of the loose leaf teas. We do, you know, have regular tea in packets and tea bags and things like that, but I never really did much with loose leaf tea before. And for some reason, maybe it was because my former roommate was really into drinking tea, but she drank a lot of black tea, and I already got so much caffeine from my coffee, I didn't feel like, and I didn't want any more caffeine from my tea. My tea is what I drink at night, like I said, so I never really participated with, you know, her drinking her loose leaf tea, and then I just never bought any for myself because I didn't know if I would use it. But having these little samples is really great because I get to try something out and taste test it and see how I like it, and I'm really, really loving these. So that might be something that I order. The tea itself has this really pretty, like, pinkish golden look to it. I wish you could see that, but it's too full for me to like tip the cup for you to see, so I'm not gonna try that. But yeah, so that is what I'm drinking. I'll probably be sipping out of it for the rest of the podcast. And what I'm wearing today, kind of on a warm day, I might have to take this off in a second, but this is my Whispering Pine shawl, I said that really weird, from Molly of A Homespun House. And this is her design. She designed this quite a few years ago, and I knit this maybe a year and a half ago. This is made out of Plucky Knitter. I almost forgot. Plucky Knitter, I'm not sure of what base it is, but it was their Big Woods colorway, and I got 2 skeins of this as part of a club that was gifted to me. It was a, sorry, I don't know if you just heard me hiccup there. It was a Laura Ingalls Wilder Little House in the Big Woods club, and I got a project bag. I got this yarn, a progress keeper, and some other fun things. So I thought that this was the perfect yarn to use for my Whispering Pine shawl, and I really enjoyed knitting this. I wish it was a little bit bigger. At the time, if you have watched my whole like podcast series, I was knitting this, and I finished it while, you know, recording the podcast, and I was contemplating making it bigger, and then I think I just decided either I was kind of not tired of the knit, but you know, I was just kind of done, or I didn't want to do the math to figure out how many stitches to, you know, in what multiple to add on in order for the lace to come out correctly. See that beautiful pine cone lace at the edge? I did not want to screw that up, and I either didn't want to, or was lazy, or couldn't, or I don't know, and I just decided to knit it to the pattern. So it's more of a shawlette, but that's okay. And yeah, I really liked it. This it's kind of a dotted texture. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's a beautiful dotted texture with some purl stitches thrown in, and I really, really love that subtle texture on the body of the shawl. And that's definitely something I would knit again. So yeah, I really like this, and I'm gradually getting all my knitwear out. Like I said, it's been chilly the last like week and a half, and I've been able to wear a few of my shawls and cowls and things. And I think Saturday I wore the first knit sweater of the season, just because I like wearing my knit sweaters to work, but sometimes depending on how warm it is, our shop can kind of warm up throughout the day. We actually have been having to go back and forth between like heating it up in the morning because it's so cold, like turning the heat on, and then midday we switch it to the air conditioning because it gets to be like mid-70s in there, and that's really uncomfortable, especially if there's people coming in and out and you're working. So then we've had to like cool it down. So because we of course don't have any like windows to open up, being kind of a retail space. So yeah, the weather's just, I mean, that's just the way it is. Wisconsin, you can be warm and then cold and then snowy, rainy, hot within a week. So yeah, it's just kind of, that's the way it goes. I'm also wearing I just contemplated pulling my foot up in the air to show you the socks that I'm wearing, but I think that would be kind of weird. Anyway, I don't think I'll do that, but I'm wearing my fairy tree socks. Just blanked on that. My fairy tree socks, which is a pattern that I designed about 6 months ago, maybe a little bit more, last spring sometime, and I think it was last March because it coincided with St. Patrick's Day. And these are a sock pattern that I absolutely love. I've knit 2 pairs of them. This was the one that I'm wearing is my original pair. I'll show kind of a picture of them here. And these are knit out of Pagewood Farms yarn in their BFL and nylon base, and the colorway is Ireland, and I designed them kind of based on the traditional fairy story of the hawthorn trees, which were said to be sacred and kind of the home of the fairies, and it was, and still is, I gather, kind of taboo in a way to cut them down. You're not supposed to really mess with the hawthorn trees. So I loved that story, and I wanted to kind of pay homage a little bit to that, and especially because of the colorway name. And I was knitting them and making them for a cal, which was like an Ireland cal. So anyway, you've probably seen those a lot too in past episodes, but yeah, they're really warm and cozy, and I've been loving wearing my hand knit socks, which, yeah, that's been fantastic. Although I feel bad, the socks I showed you the last time, had I finished those? Yes, I think I did. Yes, I had. Yes, I had. Sorry, it's been so long, I can't remember like what I was working on and what I finished, and those were the socks that I knit out of the Pumpkin Spice Latte colorway from the Moon and Sixpence, and I knit those on my vacation, and I pretty much almost finished them on that vacation. Or no, I did! Oh my gosh. See, I can't keep everything straight. I did finish them. I started and finished them within the week, and it was fantastic, and I loved knitting them. And it was the was it the cobblestone? No, the Avenues. The Avenue socks by the Knitting Expat. I went to wear those the other day and I realized that I never wove in my ends. I just put them in the bin that I keep my hand knit socks in, and I never wove in the ends. So I haven't even worn those yet, and it's almost past Halloween. But I don't care. I mean, you don't have to just wear these socks like during a certain seasonal time or a holiday or something like that. So I'll continue to wear them throughout the winter. But yeah, I was just like kind of disappointed in myself that I just tucked those away and completely forgot to weave in the ends. But I'll have to pull them out. And then, you know what I did? I folded them up and I put them back. Instead of bringing them downstairs or going to get my tapestry needles or anything, I was just like, oh no! And there they go again. Yeah. Oh well. Okay. So, I think that is all that I wanted to talk about right off the bat. I might talk a little bit later about some things that have been going on over the last few weeks, some fun things that I've been doing and stuff like that, but maybe I'll wait till the end to do that so we can get right into the knitting right now. Okay, first of all, as always, I'm going to show you my works in progress that I've been working on. And this one I'll show you first because I had it cast on and I was working on it at the last podcast. So this is in one of my, I don't think that Beth has a company name, but these are from my friend Beth, who lives up in Minnesota, and she sent me these as part of the Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted event last year. I had asked for like a seasonal bag because I didn't have, like a Christmas season, I should say, because it happens during like November, December. I didn't have a holiday bag, and I wanted something to keep like my Christmas projects in, so especially my Advent project from last year. So she made me a Christmas bag, which is upstairs, and then she also put this one in there, and I love this one too. Blue is my favorite color, and I love the floral on there. So that was very nice of Beth, and I use this one a lot as well. And I am knitting the Precious Cowl. Let me show you. This is in kind of rough shape. It's gone to New York and back with me. It's traveled to work a lot over the last couple weeks. So this is the Precious Cowl, and it is a lace motif, a lace cowl that is knit flat and then seamed together. And it's by Nadia something or other. You can sound that out for yourself. I'm not going to butcher it because I inevitably would. And I am really actually enjoying, ooh, whoops. I just like pulled my working yarn and like this big glob of yarn just came out of the center pull ball. Oopsies. I'm really enjoying this knit. I really set it down for a while because I was focused on another project, which I'm gonna show you today, and I'm so excited. Anyway, I'm not talking about that one yet. Talking about this one. Focus, Jen, focus. So I set this one down for a while, and I would just work on it at work a little bit, or a couple rows here and there. And over the last like week, I think I have gotten quite a bit done on it. So this is what I have so far, and this is much longer than when you saw it. I think when I showed it at the last podcast, which was, let's remember, like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I was probably just coming into the second color. So I think I was about just there. And then, so we have that dark pink, it goes to a lighter pink. You can see the transition there. And then it goes into this really light pink. That was smooth. And then into this buttery yellow color. So I am using a Knit Circus yarn colorway called Wallflower. And this is what the rest of it looks like. This is the big chunk that like fell out. So this is the rest of the yellow. I'm almost done with the yellow section, and then I have two, because there's three, yep. And then I have a light blue and a darker blue. So I'm more than halfway done, which is great. This pattern is so easy to memorize. It's potato chippy. You just want to keep on knitting. The repeats are only about this big. So see at the bottom of this like V stitch, and then to here, that's about like I just started another repeat. So you can easily just be like, okay, one more repeat. It's only like, how many rows? Like 10 rows? 8 rows? Something like that? 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's about 10 rows. So it's really easy to kind of just keep going and get another repeat done, and then that's another like inch pretty much from there to there. And like I said, it's easy to memorize. I don't even have to refer to the pattern anymore. The first row of each repeat, I kind of have to like stop and think that I'm starting it over, because it's easy to build on the pattern once that first row is done. But when I come to the end of the repeat, I have to remind myself like not to keep going, you know, with this like patterning, and I have to start over and, you know, start a repeat over. But yeah, it's been really fun. I am knitting this out of our Opulence base, which is a MCN merino cashmere nylon, and it's a fingering weight. It's lovely. It has a little bit of like a halo to it. And sorry, the lighting, I don't want it to like get too close because then it'll distort it. But I think this is going to be really pretty wrapped around. This is actually a Christmas present for my mom. I'm pretty sure my mom doesn't watch this because she's a very busy lady, and I don't blame her. But yeah, I think this is going to be really pretty. No matter what part is wrapped around your neck, you know, you're going to have a really beautiful color showing, and I'm excited to get that done. So yeah, I'm thinking it might be done in the next week, depending on how much knitting time I get. Maybe not, maybe about 2 weeks, but I'm not too concerned. I do want to start, I have a couple other gift knitting things for Christmas that I want to get going, because I just know that, I mean, really, it's almost the end of October, and then it's November, and then it's the beginning of December, and at that point, I'm going to be a little freaked out if I don't have the majority of my Christmas knitting done. I remember some years, I don't know if I was this bad last year, I don't think so, because I didn't knit for absolutely everybody like I usually do. Yeah, there were years where I knit slippers. I knit like 12 pairs of slippers, felted slippers for my family members. I knit felted mittens for everybody. I mean, craziness. And last year I think I only knit maybe 4 or 5 Christmas presents, and the rest we kind of just bought. So this year I have ideas for other things. They might be a little lofty, but there's a couple. Like, I know I need to get a sweater for my nephew done. I knit him a sweater every single year. Usually I knit him 2 sweaters for his birthday and for Christmas, and this year I didn't have time at his birthday in July, but I definitely want to get a sweater knit for him for Christmas. I was going to say in July again. And yeah, so I have that planned, and then I do want to knit my sister something. That's for my mom. I really want to knit my Oma something. She's very knit-worthy. Yeah, there's a couple other things that I really want to get done. My cousin's kids are really knit-worthy, and I would love to knit them all, but them all something. I cut myself off. But the oldest one is now 10, and it's getting harder to knit unless I just knit like a hat or something like that. I would love to knit them all like a sweater pullover, because like I said, they are very knit worthy, but it's just the time, the money, I don't know, we'll see. Oh, this is so good. My next work in progress is one that you have not seen yet, and this kind of, what's the story behind this one? Oh yes, I was going to a friend's wedding a few weeks ago at the end of September, almost a month ago now, and we were driving there. It was only about a half an hour drive, but I didn't know too many people, and this is, I think Steph watches this, so hi Steph, I'm talking about your wedding. I did know like a group of people, but I wasn't sure how much like downtime we would have, or if I'd be sitting, you know, at the table, and I also, like, I don't mind, I brought my knitting to Seaver's cousin's wedding and to my cousin's wedding, and just because it is like something I can do if there's a lot of like waiting time while I'm talking, or, you know, so you have that moment where you're going somewhere and you're like, I should bring a project. Like, what if I have extra time? I could be knitting. And you guys all know what I mean. But I didn't really have a sock cast on after I finished my pumpkin spice latte socks. So I just kind of randomly on our way out pretty much grabbed this skein of yarn that I had it was already like wound up, and I had it ready to go, and I cast on the toe on our way to Baraboo, which is where the wedding was. And it is this beautiful yarn by Three Sisters. She used to be Three Sisters Fiber Company. When she dyed this, she was still Three Sisters Fiber Company, but it is now Abacus Dye Works, which is one of my very good friends, Lisa. And her speckle yarns are insane. I love this so much. The blues, that brown in there, there's just so many little, there's even a little bit of like a yellowy green that sort of shows up here and there, and yeah, I loved this on first sight. I bought this a while ago when I was still working at Yarnology up in Winona, Minnesota before we moved down here, and yeah, it's been caked and sitting in my stash for a long time, so I just grabbed it on a whim. And I did cast on the toe, like I said, when we were going there, but I didn't actually bring it into the reception area. There was just a lot going on. I left it in the car, and I didn't really ever need to or have the chance to go back and get it. So I actually started knitting the majority of this sock when we were at, I think that weekend when we were at Seaver's parents' house. We spent the Sunday there watching football and kind of hanging out with them, and yeah, I decided to come up with a pattern to go on the sock. So this is actually technically one of my designs, and I will be writing this up and probably publishing this in a little bit. I'm not too rushed. I don't feel like I'm in a hurry to do this, but I do really, really love this pattern. So I'll show that to you now. I'm almost done. I'm on the cuff of the sock right now, and I'm knitting this magic loop on, as you can tell, on my US 1 needle, and I use the Addy Sock Rockets. That's my favorite sock needle. And yeah, I go toe up, so here is the toe, and then I knit the foot. It looks super small and skinny, but I promise you it fits me, and it stretches out. I was kind of worried about that, but I tried it on. It's all good. So there's the heel. It's a Fish Lips Kiss heel. That's my favorite heel pattern. And then I knit the leg. Let's get back to the front of the sock so you can, maybe you'll be able to see some of that texture. I don't know why, but this texture doesn't photograph well, and it doesn't show up on screen very well. I don't know why, because it's beautiful and wonderful, and I'm really enjoying doing it. It's just kind of a simple one stitch, or I guess it would be a 2-stitch cable, which you can do easily without a cable needle. And I was actually thinking about doing a little kind of video on here about how I knit without a cable needle. I've been hearing a little bit lately about people starting to knit cables without a cable needle, and I used to do it, I think, the way that they're doing it, which is you kind of slip them off and you have to like hold them with your fingers, and instead of slipping them on a cable needle and holding them to the front or back, you kind of just slip them off. You hold them and you knit your stitches, and then you slip those stitches back on the needle and knit those. And I did that too, and then I actually knit a project out of the Literary Knits book that came out, oh my gosh, like 5 or so years ago. It was a while ago. I knit the Jane Eyre cape, or the Jane Eyre shawl that's in there for my sister, and they explained they were doing like a 1x1 cable, and they were like, this is really, really putsy to do with a cable needle. Here's how we knit without a cable needle. And it's actually a way that you knit the stitches, you leave them on the needle, and you knit the stitches in a way that twists them. It's mind-blowing, and it will change your life. And so that is how I do all of my cabling now. Unless it's a larger cable, if it's like a 4x4 or something like that, you can't do this method. It's too many. But up to about like a 2x2 or a 3x3, you know, like you're taking 3 stitches off, knitting 3, and then knitting the 3 from your cable needle, or yeah, however you do that. That's probably the most you should do using this method, because it just gets a little tricky. But yeah, this 1x1 cable, I did that method, and I'm gonna take a little video, not a tutorial really, but just sort of like just to show you sort of what I'm doing, kind of go through it and explain, because unless you see it, you know, me kind of talking about it, it's not going to make as much sense. So yeah, I think I'll do that when I release this pattern. I'll just show it to you one more time to see if you can see that a little bit better. It's just a really fun, squishy texture on top there. So I'm excited about these. I'm not sure of the name yet. I wanted to do something kind of fall-y, but I really haven't landed on a good name yet, so we'll see. I'll have to brainstorm a little bit more, and yeah, I'm just putting away some things. If I don't, then this couch is just gonna get filled with projects and yarn, and yeah. So those are the 2 projects that I've been working on the last few weeks, besides this next one that I'm going to show you. And I'm being a little slow with showing this to you, because this is a really, 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 really special project. This is my newest pattern design, and I am very, very excited about putting this pattern out. I've just decided that it's going to be out by November 1st, on November 1st, not by November 1st. It's going to be released on November 1st. Seaver and I are going today to take some pictures of it, and he will actually probably be taking the pictures, and I will be like wearing it, modeling it. Modeling, I guess. I'm a model now. And sorry. Oh gosh, I feel like kind of nervous about showing this, because I've only given some really, really discreet sneak peeks on social media. I have not talked about this. I have not taken pictures of this. I haven't really shown anyone this, so I'm a little nervous. But first, let me talk about the yarn that I knitted in. I used 2 beautiful colors from the Woolen Homestead. Sorry. And this is her label, their label I should say. Her and her husband dye this. And this is their Polworth DK, which is 100% superwash, sorry, itchy, superwash New Zealand Polworth wool. And I used their Autumn Leaves colorway and their Ruby colorway, and I will show you what those look like knit up. This is done, this is blocked, the ends are woven in. The basic pattern is written out. Oh my gosh, my notes on this were just terrible. I don't think I expected to have to write out so much of it, because I started like on this little page about that big, like at the top, and I had filled in that page within like the first like section of this, and then there's like an arrow to go to this page, and then it's like, oh shoot, I still don't have enough room, so then it's like back to here, and then notes written in the margins, and then like squeezing it in at the bottom, and like the top of the back of the next page, and oh my gosh, it was just crazy. But I deciphered it all. I managed to type it all out. So that's kind of written out. I need to go through it again and make sure that I didn't mess anything up, that my numbers were correct. I need to do all the, what do you call it? Kind of like the materials, needles, the description, all that stuff I have to write out as well. And then once we get the pictures taken, I'll edit those and put those in. So yeah, I think I will be able to get this out by November 1st. I think that shouldn't be a problem at all. So, okay. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, here we go. This right here, oh man, you can't even, it's so big. Okay, this is my Ode to Autumn shawl. And I know my voice is probably muffled because I'm talking from behind the shawl, but this is my big DK weight, cozy, autumnal shawl, and I absolutely am in love with it. So as you can see, it is your kind of typical triangular shawl. I started from the top and went down. I have this really incredible texture in the Autumn Leaves colorway, which is the variegated colorway. And this knit up like a dream, this color, oh my gosh. The colors in it are, I mean, they're completely like an autumnal autumn leaf. It reminds me of just like looking into like a leaf pile. You know, you have the green, or you have the reds, you have kind of an orangey thing, but you also have like a mossy green and some yellow, and the background is like a brownie red, brownie pink, and it's just, I mean, look at that. Oh my gosh. So this texture here reminds me of falling leaves, which I love. It is so much fun to knit, and I think it just gives it this amazing texture. And then the sections here in the middle, there are two of these lace sections, and those are, you can see those are like V's, and I use this motif because of the geese flying south in the fall time. So we get a lot of honking geese in the sky, and they, of course, as you all know, they travel in, most of the time they travel in V's, and it's just something that you kind of see and hear a lot during the fall time. Definitely once you start seeing that, it's kind of like that clue to you that the weather is cooling down, that you're, you know, expect that cold weather because, you know, the geese are flying south. So that's why I included that in there. And so you do have two of those. You have two big sections of the falling leaves pattern, and then two of the lace motifs, and then just a little bit of the falling leaves pattern at the end, and a garter stitch border, just to kind of break up the lace section and the garter stitch border. I added another like repeat and a half of the falling leaves pattern. So yeah, this shawl is nice and big and lovely, which was my goal. This took, this took a full, you know, you can see here at the end all the way to this end. It took a full 3 skeins of yarn. This is all that I have left of the 2 full skeins of autumn leaves. I almost said falling leaves. And this is all I had left of the ruby. So I used almost the entire skein of ruby and almost the 2 entire skeins of autumn leaves. And this is exactly what I had in my head. And that doesn't happen very often. And it's so silly to almost I'm almost getting kind of emotional about it. And it feels so silly to do that because I don't even know how you guys are gonna like it, but it doesn't even really matter. I had this urge to knit this pattern. It was in my head. I could see the completed picture of it. I could see it in a yarn that was so similar to this, it's scary. When I saw Ethan and Tiffany's new autumn colorways, I was like blown away with how much I thought that it would be perfect for this shawl. And it's just insane how gorgeous it knit up. I'm kind of like, when I really think about it and I think about how much kind of expectation I had, which sounds weird, like I had an expectation for this shawl, how I thought it should knit up, how I thought it should look. I had an expectation on myself too, but also it was kind of in the yarn and in the pattern. I sort of just expected it to look a certain way, and it does. And it came together, and I think it's going to be very knittable for people and very fun to knit. And I'm just so incredibly excited. So yeah, this is my baby. This might be my favorite pattern I've ever knit, maybe. My favorite pattern I've ever designed. You guys, I mean, I'm very happy. So I hope that you think you like this and that maybe you would be interested in knitting this. I hope that you go to Tiffany and Ethan's store, which is thewoolenhomestead.etsy.com, and I hope that you want to buy some of their yarn because it's incredible and it's gorgeous, and I am so thankful that they were as excited as I was when I approached them and was like, I need you to dye me this yarn for this pattern. And Tiffany was really excited that I was designing with it, and really supportive of that, and I'm just really grateful for that. So thanks, guys, and yeah, I can't wait to get some pictures taken of this and to get the pattern out. So yay. Oh, and I want to talk about the name. So I named this shawl Ode to Autumn because that is one of my favorite poems, and it's a poem by John Keats. He was a British poet back in the early 19th century. I want to say early to mid 19th century. He has some really beautiful poetry, and he has a very tragic personal story. He died when he was very young, and his life was, you know, a little tragic as well, like so many people's were in that time of history. A lot of sickness and family tragedy and things like that. But he channeled a lot of his feelings into the poetry that he wrote, and Ode to Autumn is a gorgeous poem about how summer and spring is beautiful, but autumn has its beauty as well, and it's a different kind of beauty, but it's still just as poignant and important. And it is kind of a metaphor, I think, for life. You know, youth is wonderful, and you know, everybody kind of wants to stay young and be young, but your middle age or your later years are just as beautiful and important and special. And if you are to reach that point of your life you should be very grateful because, you know, he died in his mid-20s, and his, you know, I think his brother died right before that, and they were just plagued with, you know, death and illness, and it was, you know, it's just something about how the end can be just as beautiful as the beginning for its own reasons, but for very important ones. And anyway, you can interpret it as you want to. It can, you know, for me, a lot is, it's just about the seasons as well, but then you start thinking about like his own, you know, personal feelings towards this, and that's when you can get a little bit into the, you know, more interpretations. So anyway, that is where that came from, and I wish I had it handy. It's probably in one of my poetry anthologies upstairs from school, but from when I was in college, but I'm not going to go digging through it, and I didn't look it up and write out, you know, any of it to read to you here. So you can go check that out for yourself, and I will definitely have, you know, a line or two properly, you know, properly quoted in the pattern, just to talk about my inspiration and why it is named that. So yay! I'm just really excited, so I hope you guys like it. I love it so much, and it smells like Tuft Woolens. Oh my gosh. I have their honey lavender wool wash, and I soaked it in honey lavender for a while, and it smells so good and clean and lovely. I just want to wrap up in it like a blanket and be all cozy. So that is the big project that has taken a lot of my time, a lot of my knitting time, a lot of my focus over the last few weeks, the last month pretty much, since I got home from New York. I've been working on that, and it's just been a joy. It's been so fun. So that is the end of the knitting, but I have a lot of acquisitions to show you. Some have been given to me, some I have bought, some I have ordered. Yeah, so let's get started because I think this is going to be already kind of long, and I have a lot to show you. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you is, because I have yarn and then I have a book. So let's show you the book first. And this is gonna come as no surprise at all because I had to get lane number 6. You guys know my obsession with the Lane books, and yes, you can call it Lane. There is 2 pronunciations of this word, Line and Lane, and both apparently are acceptable. So I'm gonna say Lane because that is what I'm used to calling it. So this is lane number 6, which is the Autumn Winter 2018 book, and it's gorgeous. As always, the photography is amazing, and I picked this up when I was in Winona a couple weeks ago. I was there visiting my college roommates. We had a really fun day, all of us, and when we were out leaving town, going out of town, I looked at the clock, and Yarnology was still going to be open for another like 15-20 minutes, so I convinced Seaver to, you know, turn off and visit them quick, so we got a chance to chat a little bit, and I picked up the very last copy of this that they had in stock, so I feel pretty lucky. And yeah, this is gorgeous as always. I'll show you a few of the things that I am thinking about knitting, or that I would knit. I don't have any concrete plans right now to knit these. There's like this pattern insert here that I'm going to take out because I don't want it to fall. But this is one of them. This is a gorgeous shawl that I think I would love to wear, love to knit. It looks gorgeous, and I think that's a Shannon Cook. Yep, that's a Shannon Cook pattern. I also really like this cardigan. This is, I believe, what's on the cover. I think that's really pretty. And that is by Annie Rowden. Yep, Annie Rowden. There's a gorgeous pair of socks here that are from Andrea Mowry. Surprise, surprise. Pretty much want to knit everything that she has designed. Let's see, some good interviews. There's a good article about Icelandic knitting. Gorgeous photography, like I said before. I mean, look at that. This is like, these are like coffee table books in a like magazine form, which is, yeah, the amount of work that goes into this, I'm sure, and just the gorgeous, ooh, I love this one. Okay, this is another one that I think I need. I think I'm into the really large, squishy, big shawls because that's what I'm designing, that's what I want to knit. Oh man. And then I think this sweater is gorgeous. Oh, and this is called Poet. I didn't know that. I haven't had a huge amount of time to go through this and look, but these are just the few that when I did look through them. Did you actually see the sweater, or was I just showing you like the edge of the book? Anyway, yeah, okay. Yeah, so these are just a few that I have been, that have jumped out at me when I've just flipped through it. This cardigan looks amazing. I don't know if I would ever knit it because there's a lot of cables and it's quite large, but I think it's just gorgeous. And that color is gorgeous too. I wonder what yarn they used for that. So yeah, it doesn't disappoint. I will say there are less patterns in here possibly that I am tempted to cast on immediately than in some of the other Lane magazines, but I still think they're gorgeous, and it's definitely worth the money. There are a few that I wouldn't hesitate at all if I had the right project, or the right wool, the right yarn for it. Yeah, I think they're gorgeous. So those are the ones that jump out at me, that I wouldn't mind making someday, but I need to get going. I've only ever knit one project out of the Lane magazines, and I have all 6, so I really need to flick through them again and just see, you know, what I have yarn for, and yeah, what I would maybe want to make myself. So, because these projects are more selfish knitting. These sort of things are not going to be gift knitting for me. Maybe the shawls, maybe that could be gift knitting, but otherwise, yeah, it's going to be pretty selfish knitting. All right, I'm going to just take a sip of tea here. It's starting to cool down quite a bit, so I don't want it to get cold. I can always microwave it, but it's always best when it's fresh. It's really good. Refreshing. I could see that being really good as like an iced tea too. If it was really chilled, that would be really good. Okay, so yarn. Let's talk about yarn. So I was part of FiberShare this year, and I got my package from my FiberShare partner a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago maybe, and yeah, I just wanted to show you the yarn that she included in there for me. So this first skein of yarn is from the Fiber Universe. It's their Cosmic Sock base, yeah, probably their line. And this is the Little Green Men colorway, which is funny, like the Fiber Universe, like aliens, little green men. And this, she said, is one of her local, it's like a local yarn dyer dyed this for her, or not for her, but you know what I mean. And this is a 90% superwash merino and a 10% nylon. And there's 104, guys, what is going on here? 410 yards, not 114. But yeah, so that is a beautiful tonal fingering weight that was included in my package. And then She also sent me this really beautiful, what's the name of this? Yarn Geek Fibers, and this is their Whiz Bang base, which is a worsted weight. It's 60% merino wool and 40% bamboo, so it's got this really beautiful sheen to it. And what I really like about this is it is named after a woman in history. So this is called Harriet Quimby, aviatrix, and she was the first woman to fly the English Channel. So you can see that. So I think that's really cool. It's like, it's inspired and based on, you know, a figure in history, especially a woman. I always love hearing about women in history. If you're like me and you enjoy a good story and good storytellers, especially about women in history, their whole podcast is about it. Check out the History Chicks. I get it on Apple Podcasts, which is like iTunes, and it's every episode pretty much is about a different woman, and they just kind of give you the basic story of her life, and it's really, really interesting. They don't get too heavy into like the details. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they have two, you know, episodes, but a lot of times it's just kind of the basic overview, and it's just really, really fascinating, really interesting. So yeah, so this is Harriet Quimby, and I'm excited to use this. This is really soft, it's really beautiful. It's got those nice blues and grays, and yeah, it's gonna be fun to work with. So yeah, that was the yarn that I got from my fiber share, and I really enjoyed doing fiber share. I loved putting my fiber share package together. I kind of went a little crazy, but I gave her some stuff out of my stash, some really good stuff out of my stash, and then I bought her a couple skeins, and yeah, it was really fun. Some extras in there too, and I got a couple other extra things which I didn't bring on the podcast, but I got like a candle. I really can't talk today. Candle. I got some candy. I got a little picture frame. What else? A bag. I'm trying to think what else was in there. Yeah, but it was good. Yeah, it was really good. So that was really fun. And then, let's see, what should I... Okay, so let's talk about this quick. This is just something I added to my stash myself. There was no really big event around it, but this is one of our prototypes from Knit Circus. And this is one of our... We have this color kind of in a regular gradient, and we were testing it out to see if it would look good in an impressionist. This is our Leaf Pile Leap, which was our one of our fall colorways last year. It's still around, so you can still order it if you want to at knitcircus.com. I'm gonna shamelessly plug that. But we decided that this looked too much like an old colorway that we had, and we didn't release it. But I needed to get the prototype because I absolutely love this, and I think I'm gonna knit this into a like a cowl, so because it's just so autumnal and beautiful. So yeah, I added that to my stash a couple weeks ago. And then let's see, last month we had a trunk show with Yarn Cafe Creations, which I think I showed you. I got a couple skeins of her, or I got a skein of her fingering weight yarn. But then when I was packaging it up to send what we hadn't sold, we were going to send back, and I just had to buy this one as well. So this is her DK yarn, which is just such a squishy, beautiful 100% superwash merino. There's 218 yards in this, and this is in her September Storm colorway. And I loved just all the fun pops of color. It's still kind of subtle, but there's like that bright like pink in there, and the lighter like greens and stuff, and the blue. And I decided to get her DK weight because I didn't want to get just another skein of fingering weight yarn. I have so many skeins of fingering weight yarn, and while I love them, and I love that you can just grab one and make a pair of socks, make a shawl, whatever. I do feel like, you know, my stash could use a little bit of diversifying. So I got the skein of DK, and I figured I can make a hat out of this. I could make a little like baby sweater like eventually if a friend was having a baby, or I mean, don't get too excited, folks, we're not having kids yet, but you know, eventually we would like to have kids, so you know, keep it in my stash for that, or a nice squishy cowl. I don't know, there's just a lot I think that I could do differently than, you know, what I can do with all those single skeins of fingering weight that are in my stash. So I opted for her Mocha DK, which is just gorgeous. Oh gosh, that color. I love it. So I added this to my stash before we sent her yarn back. And this is, if you haven't heard of Yarn Cafe Creations, this is Christy. She and her daughter Tristan have a podcast, which is called The Girls in the Yarn Cafe. She's also on Instagram, like everybody else is, so you can check her out there. And yeah, she was so wonderful in sending us a bunch of her gorgeous fall and Halloween colors last month, and we had a lot of fun with her yarn. And speaking of the Girls in the Yarn Cafe and her daughter Tristan, the next stuff I have to show you, the next yarn, is actually from her. So we had Christy's yarn in September last month, and we have Tristan's yarn this month at Knit Circus as a trunk show, and we have a little bit left. Hers sold like gangbusters during the shop hop that we had at the beginning, well, it was like the middle of October. It was last weekend, so the 12th, 13th, and 14th. And so we do have a little bit left, not too much, but a little bit. And it was so sweet. Tristan and I had been kind of coordinating this trunk show, and we originally talked about it back, I think, in like the spring. So we, you know, she's been kind of planning on it for a long time. We've been, you know, getting everything sorted out, and as a thank you, she sent me one of her fall mini packs, which was so unexpected and lovely, and just, yeah, just so sweet. And I, like when one of my coworkers was the one that was actually opening the box and unloading it, because I was in the same room, but I was kind of in a meeting with my boss. We were talking over some stuff, and so Bug comes over and she like popped this in front of me with there's a card too, and she's like, "That's for you." And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, it says it on it." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you." You know, I was so excited, and I think I posted on kind of probably a derpy photo on Instagram about how excited I was and whatever. But I mean, just look at those gorgeous, gorgeous colors. I was looking at it earlier, and I identified most of them. So she has the list of colorways here on the front, and there's a few that I know from having her trunk show. I recognize them, and there's a couple that I'm kind of guessing at, but I think this second one here is the spiced cider colorway, and I know the bag is probably, yeah, so that's spiced cider. I'm pretty sure that that's pumpkin everything, that orange yellow one. This one's definitely mold cider. This one is sweater weather. I know that for sure. And then the other ones I was kind of guessing at. So I'm guessing, and Tristan, you can tell me if I'm wrong or right if you're watching, but this I'm guessing is maybe Spook. This one, I think with the green, or not greens, the blues and the grays and stuff, I think that's Chill in the Air. And then I think that this is Vintage Fall right there. And Vintage Fall was one actually that I was really tempted to order when she put that color out. But yeah, I'm really, really excited to have all of these. I'm actually thinking about doing, Tristan's mom, Christy, has a shawl pattern out called something hippie. The Autumn Hippie shawl? Is that? Yeah, I think that's what it is. And it uses like different, it has different sections and it uses mini skeins for it. So I'll have to look and make sure I have enough, but I think that would be really fun to do with this, just because, you know, it's Tristan's yarn, Christy's pattern, and then also I've loved that pattern since she brought it out. So yeah, I think that would be super fun. So that was from Tristan, and thank you, Tristan. That was incredible, and you didn't have to do that, but it was really awesome. And sorry, there's a fruit fly. So I also, that obviously wasn't enough yarn for me because I am a glutton and I'm a yarn addict, and so I had to buy more of Tristan's yarn. So the first one that I grabbed and knew that I needed was this right here, and this is her new version of Farmer's Market. So actually the last time I podcasted, I think I showed you the yarn I'd gotten in the mail that I'd ordered. She discontinued her Farmer's Market colorway because it was just too complicated to dye. So she kind of revamped it, and this I don't think has even been released online. She sent it, you know, a batch to us, and this sold out. This is gone from Knit Circus. Sorry, guys. You snooze, you lose. No, just kidding. But I'm sure she will be putting this out eventually on her website, but it just has those gorgeous blues and that yellow in there, and then I really like this section up here where it's kind of, ooh, sunshine. It's kind of speckly. It has that dark blue and the gold in there, and oh, it's so pretty. So this one I knew had to come home with me, and I'm really glad that I bought a skein because during the shop hop it sold out. It was, I think, one of the first ones to be sold out completely. And the second colorway that I got was one that it kind of surprised me that I loved it as much as I did. I could not, I don't know, every time I looked at all the yarn, this one was just like pulling me in. And this is her Muses colorway. And I do like pastels and stuff, but there's something about the soft pastel background, which she has like that pink you can see, and then a yellow, like a pastel yellow here, a little bit of a pale blue in the background, really subtle, and then there's just these like dark pointed speckles on top of that. And I don't know, there's just something about it that I could not drag my eyes away from it, and I knew I just needed. So I got 2 skeins of this. Oh, and I should have said both the Muses and Farmer's Market are done, or are on her Lore base, which is her 8515 merino nylon fingering weight. She also sent along a DK weight too, but I decided to go with the fingering weight, and I think I'll just do a large shawl out of this. There's a few shawls that are in my favorites and in my queue that take over, like, you know, this is 436, so, you know, they're just kind of oversized and large, and they're gonna take more than 1 skein. So yeah, I thought that would be really fun to use this for it, because yeah, it's just incredible. I was thinking about getting enough to knit a sweater, and I was like, no, I have enough sweaters quantity in my fingering weight in my stash. Yeah, and I couldn't buy. She did, like I said, she sent DK weight. I could have bought enough to make a DK weight sweater, but that would have probably been over my budget. So, oh well. I'm really happy with those, and I'm really excited that we got to host Tristan's yarn at our shop. Yeah, so okay, the last thing I'm going to show you just came, I think about a week ago, a little less than a week ago, and this is really, really exciting. I was looking forward to this for well, obviously since I bought it, and this was a club that I kind of, on a whim, ordered one day, and I saw, I think okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So this is one of a Homespun House clubs, Molly of a Homespun House. She has the podcast, she has an amazing yarn shop, or yarn store, online yarn store. She just moved back to the US, and she's getting back into dyeing, and she is doing some of her beautiful clubs. She's a huge Harry Potter fan, as am I, and she always does these Harry Potter clubs, and she announced that she was again doing the Return to Hogwarts Club, which is for, restarting school, kind of. You're going back to Hogwarts. And I knew about it. I had seen her updates about it. And then there was one day, it was getting close to the end of signups, and I think she posted a story on her Instagram that was just kind of like, okay guys, like, you have one more day to sign up for this. If you want it, go do it now. And something just snapped inside of me. And I kind of, not robotically, but without even thinking, I went on her website and I ordered it. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I really wanted that. But this is Return to Hogwarts. I'm pretty sure everybody has their skein by now. Like I said, I got this probably a week, maybe even over a week ago. I can't remember. But this is the gorgeous skein of yarn. And there's no information really about the yarn. I'm wondering if it's on the inside of the tag, but I don't want to take the tag off. No, there isn't. So I really don't even know what base this is. I'm assuming that this is like an 80. I'm wondering if she forgot to put like a label on it. Because you know how, oh, my phone is running out of battery. So you know how like the Woolen Homestead, this is her tag, and then she has a label on the back that says like what the colorway is and all that stuff. And this is the gorgeous label, which has the picture of, everybody crossing the lake and going to Hogwarts. And then it has a homespun house on the top, but then there's like nothing on the back. So I'm just wondering if this is maybe a skein that got overlooked and the info didn't get put on the back, or if everyone is just supposed to know what it is based on, this picture, which is very telling, because this isn't her normal label. This is only for this club. So, I mean, I don't really care. I'm assuming it's a 2-ply, and I can tell that it's not like Stellina. It's definitely not an MCN, so I'm assuming that it's like an 80-20, or a 75-25 base. Yeah, so, I mean, I really don't mind. I was just like curious about that. I'm like, there's like no, that label is totally blank, is what I'm trying to get out of my mouth. So, yeah, but it's gorgeous. I'm so happy with it. And I'm trying so hard to resist buying the Christmas at Hogwarts Club, because I think that is gorgeous, but I have a lot of yarn and I need to knit with it. But yeah. Oh, maybe it's a little too early to say anything about this, but I will hint that we're doing all these trunk shows every month with a different dyer, and Homespun House, Molly, is fairly local now, and I have been in contact with her about possibly doing a trunk show at Knit Circus. So stay tuned. I don't want to, count my chickens before they hatch or anything like that, but it would be really fun if she were to come and have her yarn there, and maybe do a meet and greet. I don't know yet, but we'll see. Again, I don't want to commit to too much before everything is verified. But yeah, we're in talks, I should say. We're in talks. So that would be super fun. Yeah, and that's all the yarn pretty much that I got. And yeah, let's see, I can talk a little bit. There's been some fun things going on over the last couple weeks. This past weekend, I went to the farm on Friday night after work. I went there to just kind of hang out. Also because we don't have cable, and my baseball team, the Brewers, Milwaukee Brewers, were in the playoffs. It was a very important game on Friday, and I really wanted to watch it. So I traveled to the farm, to my in-laws, farm, I should say. Seaver was already there. He had gone there in the afternoon and was helping his dad out there like he does on most weekends. And we watched the game. They won on Friday. Unfortunately, though, on Saturday, which was the final game, they had to win that one in order to move on to the World Series. We unfortunately lost that one to the LA Dodgers. So that was very disappointing. That was as close as we've ever gotten to the World Series in my lifetime. And it was exciting to watch, and I was really happy that we did so well. I was disappointed, still disappointed. It feels weird that the season is over. I've been not concentrating, but I've been so into following that and listening to all the games and, looking things up during the day about, different articles that are, now it's kind of over. So it's a little weird, but it was really fun while it lasted. So I'm proud of them. I'm proud of our team. And hey, there's always next year. That's what you say, right? There's always next year. So I was actually at my dad's and my Oma's house Friday night watching that game with them, and we were babysitting my nephew while my sister and a couple of her friends went to a Halloween cemetery walk that her husband, my sister's husband, my brother-in-law, was putting on. He works for the Rock County Historical Society, which is in Janesville, Wisconsin, and they do all these really cool events. So he was hosting that kind of. He was the historian that was talking, and they went on his cemetery walk. So my nephew stayed with us, and we babysat him and watched the baseball game, which was a lot of fun, even though we lost. And then the next day, my dad and I actually went to Jefferson, Wisconsin, which you'll recognize as the home of the Wisconsin Sheep and Wool Festival. And we did it used to be called the Harry Potter Festival. Last year, Jefferson hosted the Harry Potter Festival for the first time. It had been in a different town in Wisconsin before that. But after last year, Warner Brothers apparently threatened to sue if they used the Harry Potter name in the festival, which is dumb. Sorry. And they had to change it to the Warriors and Wizards Festival, which was a combination of a lot of different fandoms. So instead of being specifically and totally Harry Potter, it was like Star Wars, Harry Potter, what was kind of Game of Thrones, not really. They had more, it was more like cosplay, Comic-Con type of stuff, where people were either like generic characters just kind of dressing, or like it kind of had a Ren Fair type feel, or there were some dressing up like characters, but more of just kind of your wizardy types, if you know what I mean. I don't know, that sounds weird, but you know what I mean, like generic costumes, generic characters. And we had a lot of fun walking around. It was just the two of us. Everybody else was busy that day, so we just kind of ate food, hung out, looked at wands. It was really fun. And had coffee. It was cold, but we didn't care. It was great. So that's what we did. That was just yesterday, this past Sunday. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then otherwise, I'm having trouble remembering. We had our shop hop a little over a week ago. That was really successful. Thank you to everybody if you're in the Madison area or if you came from out of town for that. It was wonderful, and we had such a good turnout. It's really makes you feel really, really good when you've spent like 8 months planning something and, it turns out really, really well. And it gives us, hope and incentive in the future to do it again. So there will definitely be another shop hop next year, and yeah, we're really, really excited about how that turned out. I had also my cousin's wedding. My cousin Shayla got married last weekend, and so that's why I wasn't there. If you guys did stop in at the Knit Circus shop on Saturday or Sunday for the shop hop, I was not there. But I was down in Illinois with my family, so it was a really good time. We danced and ate and had fun, got dressed up. It was great. So yeah, that was good. And then I'm kind of going backwards. So I started with this past weekend, did the weekend before that. What happened the weekend before that? I can't even remember. Yeah, a lot has happened since the last time we chatted. So forgive me if I'm leaving anything out, but yeah, it's just been busy, good, a lot of knitting, and not enough knitting at the same time, if you know what I mean. I wish I had more time to knit. A lot of good life stuff, and yeah, things are going pretty well. So I think that's where I'm gonna leave you today. I think I've talked about everything I wanted to, and probably a few extra things. And I hope you all have had a great fall, a great autumn. Please look out for my Ode to Autumn shawl. I'm so excited about it, and I really hope you guys are too. That will be out November 1st, and I might even be doing a deal that first couple days, or that first week that it's out on Ravelry, so keep your eye out on that. I'm hopefully going to podcast around that time, so again, maybe not next week, but maybe the week after. I'm going to get back to a regular schedule, I promise, because things are finally slowing down. My weekends won't be quite as busy anymore, and I'll get a chance to A, do more knitting, and then B, actually have time to sit down and podcast about it. So thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you're a new viewer, thank you so much for checking my podcast out. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can give it a thumbs up. Also hit the subscribe button. That would be awesome. Once I get to 1,000 subscribers, or not 1,000 subscribers, that's on my Instagram. Once I get to 500 subscribers here on YouTube, I am going to be doing a giveaway. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And yeah, find me on Instagram as Driftless Knitter, and on Ravelry as Driftless Knitter. You can find my designs under Driftless Knitter or under Jennifer Runtag, which is my name. And yeah, I hope to see you back here again in a couple of weeks. Until then, do things that make your heart happy, and I will be doing the same. Thank you. Bye.